Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with this week's Wednesday Wisdom guests. That's right, we got two. But first, as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, these are all companies I used as an athletic director. They are all great companies, and I highly recommend that you check them out, see what they can do for you. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be very glad you did. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, our student athletes, our parents just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank our friends at Snap Raise. If you've ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results, those days are over. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school and had great success, and so will you. Check out all their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, results. Their eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com and don't forget to tell them you heard about it on the podcast. We also want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant AD, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program. And while they were earning their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to thank our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to their website, take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be a magnet for kids, for coaches. How about sponsors? The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Let's also say thanks to our good friends at Athletic Surveys. If you're not using a survey to take the pulse of your players, your coaches, and your parents, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that connects you with all of your stakeholders. And you're going to be surprised at the positive feedback you get. That's athleticsurveys.com. We also want to thank our friends at Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their solutions that include things like, digital ticketing, athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director or a principal, even a head coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, raise more money, and bring your community together. That's hometown.com. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team help you become a social media marketing guru. Whether it's a simple post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to showcase the great things your athletic department is doing, Gipper is going to have you up and running in no time. Official logos, official colors, no matter who's creating it, Gipper's the platform you want to use. Go to Gipper.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to thank our great friends at Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. You probably heard me say many times, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule a live web demo today. And one more time, don't forget to mention the podcast, sidelineinteractive.com. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. Regular, I dare say, longtime listeners to the podcast are certainly going to recognize our two guests today. That's right, it's a 2-for-1. Leading off, we have Emily Barkley. Emily was on season 1 of the podcast. We've actually had her back a couple of times. She's a certified master athletic administrator, and she's the director of athletics at Union High School in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She is joined by, I think I can say, my very good friend, Stephanie Blackwell. Stephanie is also a certified master athletic administrator, and she's also at Union High School in Tulsa as the athletic coordinator. Also, still the chair of the NIAA's certification committee. That's where we first met. And she was one of our earliest guests on the podcast. I think she might even been in the 20s or something, 22 or 23. And here we are closing in on 700 interviews.
Wow.
Emily Barkley
That's incredible.
and Stephanie Blackwell, welcome back to the Educational AD podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I know. Sorry.
That's okay. They are both podcast professionals. We actually have I think a really cool topic that we're going to share with you today. Actually, Emily and Stephanie are going to give us some boots on the ground observations. But first, as we always do, Emily, we'll start with you. Give our listeners a little bit of your background. She's gotten a DSA from the NIAAA, highly decorated. She is a pro athletic director. But as I like to say, give our listeners your life story in 2 minutes.
Sure. I am actually back at my alma mater. I was a Union kiddo here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, born and raised. So went K through 12. Didn't go very far. The University of Tulsa is within 15 minutes from here. And that's where I went. They had a sports management program that was in its first year, my freshman year. And actually, Oklahoma, and Stephanie will know this, but Tulsa area was surrounded by a lot of Title IX litigation. And so when I took a campus tour, I met a professor who just told me that they're going to need a lot of females in this profession. This was in 1996. And so I loved hearing that. And so I jumped on board and I stayed there, got my undergraduate and my graduate degree, Master's of Business Administration at the University of Tulsa, just went straight through. And then about 9 months later was hired back here at Union. And during my time at TU, I was a volunteer basketball coach, helping my old basketball coach, so stayed connected and tried to volunteer for every athletic activity that was going on at the University of Tulsa at that time to get some experience. And so I started as an assistant athletic director here a little over 22 years ago. And for the last, this is my 13th year as the athletic director.
All right. Well, again, we appreciate you sharing. You still look like you could lace it up and drive hard to the basket for +1. Emily's joined by her good friend, and hopefully my good friend too, Stephanie Blackwell, longtime athletic director in Oklahoma. And she had the opportunity a few years ago to join Emily at Union. And as I mentioned, Stephanie and I first met at the NIAAA state coordinators meeting where she had been added to the certification committee kind of the same time as I was rolling off. But again, a great friend. Stephanie, again, give our listeners a little bit of your background and kind of led to why you're here today.
Well, a little bit similar to Emily. I was a gymnast and then cheered, which I swore I'd never do. That got me to the University of Tulsa. I cheered there for 4 years. Great school, as Emily's alluded to. You can never say anything bad about the University of Tulsa because it is an amazing institution. And I think with me being a cheerleader there, it helped my enthusiasm and excitement for sports altogether. Then I went back home to my alma mater and was there as a cheer coach, math teacher, and became the athletic director probably 16 years after I was there. Then I was 17 years as AD at Bixby. And then I wasn't and got to Emily says she stole me, which I'm so glad she did, here to Union.
Yeah. Well, I think we like to say talent recognizes talent. So, certainly not a surprise that Emily reached out to you. Let's go and jump into today's topic. Listeners, if you don't know Scott Grant, just go and Google him. Scott's a former athletic director and coach. Now he's a college professor and works with schools and organizations in a lot of different areas, one of them being this new world of NIL as it applies to the high school level. Puts out pretty much a monthly newsletter. And his most recent newsletter mentioned some going-ons in the Oklahoma Association with regards to NIL. Now we have NIL here in Florida, and it's in other states, and it's coming. But I wanted to talk to a couple of current athletic directors, and Emily and Stephanie. Again, they're at the same school, but I think they've got a pretty good idea of what's going on in Oklahoma. I just want to have them come on to maybe talk about what's going on in their state, maybe how it impacts the rest of us around the country. So again, Stephanie, I will let you go first once, but we're going to lead with Emily again.
Yes.
Emily, what, I guess kind of broad brushstrokes, what's going on with NIL in a general way in the state of Oklahoma for high school athletics?
Well, for several years, it's been fairly quiet. Our state association came out with some guidelines that we felt, they were pretty broad, but they also seemed to be, as an athletic director, very easy to interpret, separate basically education-based athletics from seeking compensation as individuals. And Stephanie and I have forged a very good friendship with Dr. Grant. And gosh, I feel like he's one of the most brilliant speakers and educators when it comes to this topic. And, we leaned on him for many years prior to and kept in contact, as I'm sure you have as well. And so when this recent, our knowledge, when we became knowledgeable about some, recent happenings that seemed to violate in our minds the guidelines that we all had been following for a very long time, it caused us pause and a little discomfort because, our paths have been the same, but Stephanie and I are very like-minded in we're going to do things the right way, and we're going to follow the rules as given. And we felt that those had been blurred. And so we, were ready to kind of tackle what that looked like. And when I say they had been blurred, we have guidelines where no marks can be used that identify the school with the athlete when seeking compensation, very basic. However, the recent happenings, very much had people in uniform, people on school facilities, people seeking compensation, stating their position within the team, which seemed to be a direct violation of the guidelines. And so we did reach out and tried to seek some clarification. And I think maybe are more so confused of what direction, you're going to hear probably some frustration on both of our parts, just because, again, for somebody who's very black and white in terms of rules, maybe not, we have gray areas in other things we do, but in rules, and if we're all going to follow it, we're all going to follow it. And it seemed that there was an advancement in what is being allowed, and maybe we weren't all educated on that. And so I think I think we can speak for several ADs in Oklahoma, because we're on speed dial with a lot of those who are sharing those same frustrations. And, I guess we're being looked at as leading the charge to seek clarification on all of it. But we've been leaning into Dr. Grant and his expertise on a lot of it so far.
Yeah, and absolutely right. Scott Grant, Dr. Scott Grant with Triple Threat Leadership, he has, researched this topic, not just, in a general way, but a deep dive. And he could probably tell you chapter and verse what every state's NIL policy is. So if he's not somebody you're following on Twitter or LinkedIn or something, again, it's Scott Grant, Dr. Scott Grant, Triple Threat Leadership. And again, some of the things that you just shared and that were in this article, this email, it was kind of like NIL 101. And again, every state has some nuance, some differences, but basically it's, you can't use the school name. You can't use the school colors or logo. You can't, have a photo of you on the school soccer field or basketball court. It's just, it's you. It's not the school because the school is a member of the state association, et cetera, et cetera. That's, everybody understands that. And in that article, as you also kind of alluded to, it's like, wait a minute, they can't do this. Stephanie, let's put a laser focus on Union High School right now. Um, do you have student athletes that have NIL agreements either with you know Joe's Garage or the Smith Family Grocery Store or something on a more national level? Do you have any NIL deals that you and Emily have had to, I guess, acknowledge? Okay, we know that these are there and we are compliant.
Um, I think the issue is that we probably don't know of any. I mean, there might be some, but I think that the the issue or the good thing about that is we don't know um, if they're doing any of those things. It's not being done under union athletics. It's not being done under, our facilities, those things. So, we just need to be educated so we can educate our student athletes and parents on what is good, what is not good, what you can do, what you can't do. Like Emily said, it was a very vague, um, very general guideline, but then when you read it and understand it, there's there's things that have been definitely blurred and definitely confusing to athletic directors who you would think understand it for the most part. Um, there's just seems to be some clear violations, but maybe not so. Again, they're guidelines, so they're not in rule. But I don't think any of our kids are, using union public schools or union athletics to seek NIL.
Right. I
I,
mean,
I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
well, and that might be a good thing.
Yes.
I love the semantical game, and not you two, but that we all play. Well, this is a policy. Well, it's not a policy; it's more of a rule. It's not a rule; it's a guideline. We're just suggesting this. Um, well, a policy is pretty. In Florida, we have the Red Book. That's our policy book. Everybody knows what you're talking about when you say the Red Book. So we're not trying to point fingers. We're not trying to throw anybody under the bus. We're not saying we're better than anybody. But if we can, and Steph, I'm going to come back to you. I told you I was going to let you go first. What are some of these policies or guidelines or rules, whatever you want to call them, that the state association said, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. And yet it appears that other schools are not following those policy guidelines or rules. Let's talk specifics if we can. Not the school, but the policy that is being violated.
Well, I think, and Emily can jump in here. Also, she's very knowledgeable too. Again, it's back to the education piece, and we have social media so much and we find out things on there of, oh, this is going to happen. And we're going to have a parent meeting on our NIL and those kind of things, which red flags are going up all around various athletic directors around the state going, wait, what? Well, I thought we couldn't do that. That's not really what the guidelines say we can do. So I think it comes back to everything is blurred and there's no procedures, there's no education to athletic directors about it. And that's where things get blurred. But to your question, it is they have posted stuff with their position. I'm the union quarterback. This is my name, this is what I'll do, those kind of things. I mean, they can reach out to the kids once they get on this platform. And I could reach out to one of them and ask them to come to a birthday party and pay them $10,000. No one's going to know those things, which I think that's what's scary is we don't want to jeopardize a kid's amateurism. We don't want to, jeopardize their future. We want them to understand that if you take money, you're going to have to pay taxes on it. Hopefully the parents are involved if they're under 18. So there's those kind of things that it's just scary, and we don't want to advise our kids. It's an integrity character thing too. We don't want to let our kids do something that could get them in trouble.
Yeah. Emily, again, Scott Grant's article, if you will, really talked about, some specific things. And again, we don't have to mention the school. If somebody's interested, or schools, they can look it up. But to me, looking at that as somebody not in Oklahoma, I'm going, well, geez, that wouldn't fly, in Florida. I don't think it would fly in other states as well. What were your thoughts when you first either saw it in the article or maybe heard about it because it's in your state?
Sure. Well, I think a disclaimer, that Dr. Grant always likes to say, and I feel, and I believe Stephanie does, we don't have an issue with students having an avenue to monetize on their
Oh, no,
name, image, and
absolutely.
likeness. I mean, this is the world we're in. If we want to pretend like college and high school are amateur events, we would be, sorely disappointed these days with the way it's gone. So just with that disclaimer, that's not the issue. My concern is the liability that is going to fall on me as an athletic director. I am not an expert. I want to make that very clear. I'm not in name, image, and likeness whatsoever. And now I think these school districts in the area feel like we're left to be scrambling to decide whether we want to violate what we think would be a violation of a policy. And that's the reason it's a policy. It is not a rule, or not a policy, a guideline. And that's why we're very careful to use the word guidelines, because it's not a policy. So there's no really discipline or consequence to a student athlete violating it at this time. That's why it's a policy, I think. And I am not in the business of trying to see kids have to sit out a game for violating these guidelines. The problem is, I feel like there's an enormous amount of liability that's going to fall on me as an athletic director, and that I'm going to put my school district in if I go out and say, here's a platform for you to make money off of as a student. There's no, as far as we know, there's no compliance component that the third party has to turn over to the state association or to me as an athletic director. And I don't have time to look through all of these to try to determine, because again, I'm not an expert, of whether they are in compliance or not. And it puts us in this area that I know Oklahoma school funding is, not where it should be if we're talking about public schools. So now I have to determine if I'm going to use my resources as an athletic director, my taxpayer dollars, to turn around and create a relationship with a third party who I don't know and I can't control. And I can't make sure my coaches are not the ones hiring these athletes to come to birthday parties and so forth, which then violates all kinds of rules, being, as Dr. Grant would say, an agent of the school. That part is not defined. And so, the things he put in those articles were things that him and Stephanie and some other athletic directors around the area had been visiting about and very, very concerned about. And I just think there's an avenue right now for them to monetize on their name, image, and likeness that doesn't require myself as an athletic director spending any funds to do it, nor putting myself in a situation that allowed a third party to broker a deal between a 15-year-old girl and who knows who on the internet. And so I just feel like there's safety component, there's compliance component. Like Stephanie said, there's amateurism stuff that I don't want to be responsible if they end up being an NCAA Division I athlete and they violated. And I think those platforms, those third party, they're not necessarily worried about their high school following the rules, because that's not what they're not in it for, to make sure everybody's compliant under the rules. In fact, they don't care. I mean, why would they? They're a business that is just putting two parties together. And it doesn't matter where the money comes from. It doesn't matter. I think there's a checks and balances to make sure it's a legit person that has the money to deposit. But besides that, I don't know where the liability stops. And if I hire this third party to do it, I just feel like I'm putting myself in a very bad spot. And, a lot of people around here feel like it's it might be being used as a recruiting tool to entice athletes to want to go participate at a school that is 100% behind providing this platform. So we don't want to be left behind to look like we don't care about our student athletes and their ability to do that, but we're very cautious and concerned about tying our school district or ourselves to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, great job of summarizing that. The meetings that I've attended, even as a retired AD, I still go to our conferences. I just presented at our state coaches conference. When our state association puts on a presentation, I'm assuming it's similar to Oklahoma. We have about, let's say, a dozen athletic directors that work solely through the state association. When they talk about NIL, I mean, one of those, again, foundational principles is that the school is not to, be involved, is not to make these deals, is not to be the go-between with agents, or as you said, third-party organizations. And correct me immediately if I misspeak here. The situation in Oklahoma that I think got all of our attention, including mine, was there's a third-party organization that appears to be reaching out to schools directly and I guess maybe indirectly to their student athletes, where the school can become affiliated for a fee with this third party entity, and then their student athletes can promote themselves for NIL opportunities, as Stephanie said, showing up at a birthday party for a cool 10K. It just, and again, if that's what the rule reads in Oklahoma or any other state, Ontario, Canada, if that's what the rule or the guideline says, hey, let's do it. But it just seems so fundamentally opposite of what I think most of us understand the role of the school to be. We are not lawyers. We are not accountants. We don't know, and we shouldn't, all those answers about paying taxes. And you mentioned liability. I mean, that's the huge. Well, my son, signed up for this organization because you told him to do it. Okay, no, none of us are doing that.
Because you are using that platform for your student athletes. I mean, that's a huge issue.
Yeah. I mean, even at the college level, I think they have NIL. I don't want to use the wrong word here. They have people on campus in department that are aware of, and let's say they catalog, NIL deals to make sure there's compliance, but they're not supposedly, hey, I'd like you to meet, Mary here. She's got a great opportunity for you. They're not doing that. Since the article, since Scott's research and article has come out and commentary, if you will, about this, let's just say a couple of Oklahoma schools that are doing this, what has the response been? Has the state association responded at all? Emily, I guess we'll start with you.
Sure. We did reach out for some guidance on it, and I think there's I don't want to speak for them. I think there's some nervousness that their guidelines may be outdated from, I believe, I was trying to look at the date that we put those in place. It might have been 2022 or something like that. So I do believe they're going to try to update those. But I mean, I can only speak to the handful of athletic directors who have reached out that we've been communicating with. The fear is that you can't rein it back in, and we don't want to necessarily do the same thing in the manner, because I do feel strongly that it puts myself, and I have a family to protect, but it puts myself in a bad situation as the athletic director, and the name on this from a promotional standpoint, that's not what I want to do, but I really want to know. And that's what we had a Zoom with Dr. Grant, a handful of us, and what can we do so we don't feel like, our student athletes don't feel like we're fighting for them, But we also want to do one that we feel like is on the up and up and follows those rules. And so it's put everybody in kind of a frustrating place because um, it moved very fast. It may not have had to. It could have been, let's dive into their situation a little bit, pull back on that one while we finalize some guidelines rather than, well, it's out there, we need to update our guidelines. I have faith that they'll be hearing a lot more from athletic directors about it. And so we'll have to get more education as athletic directors about it. But I do have some concern about what it looks like or what we're going to be able to provide because we do have a transfer policy now where student athletes can go wherever they want. As long as they declare by July 15th and are accepted into the school district, they can only do it one time. But that one time is all it takes if something shiny is happening at a school district not very far away. And so I think that's my biggest concern. I think that's the concern of the friends of in the business that we're in Oklahoma. And the problem is, you know, I mean, it would seem like, a lawsuit would stop it, but who's going to foot that bill? Because it's really between that other school district and their patrons versus one school district versus another. So we're hopeful that there will be further discussion. And I've suggested multiple times that Dr. Grant should lead the charge for us. And I don't know, we may look to see if we can hire him in some way, shape, or form to help us do that, just because of his knowledge. And that's who I want to align myself with, is somebody who is looking out for Stephanie and myself as athletic director, but also understands that it's okay to go into this new space, but let's do it in a way that protects us, protects them, and there's a little accountability that goes with it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think,
Oh, go ahead, Steph.
yeah, I think Emily, we are like-minded, but it goes back to what is education-based athletics, and what are we doing for our student athletes to educate them and us and show them the right path to do things, which is to follow guidelines, to show them how, if this is something that we choose to do, which it's out there, and I'm sure we don't care, again, if they are doing this on their own. They can do it on their own right now. I think that's the biggest issue. A school does not have to be involved to do this, but maybe not the biggest issue, but the issue now is, where do we go from here? What do we do? What are our next steps? And it needs to be sooner rather than later, because it's out of the bag.
Oh, no, it's definitely here. And I think most athletic directors, I get the feeling from both of you that, we are not anti NIL. If a kid is able to make some bucks and follow the guidelines or the rules, hey, that's okay. But this was about a year ago in Florida at one of the NIL presentations by our state association. There are about 80 athletic directors and coaches in the room. And I asked the group a question: how many of you in your career, and there were some longtime ADs, so there were some new ones, but of those 80, I said, how many of you have had a student athlete, boy or girl, any sport, get a full ride, 100% NCAA scholarship? How many? Out of that group of 80, there were 3 hands that went up. And it's going to be about the same for any kind of NIL deal, even those Joe's Garage deals locally. It's just not a thing. But again, if it's a rule or a policy, I think we need to follow it. If it's a guideline, geez, now we're scratching our heads. But still, and I think the point that you both have made is very valid. When your student athletes or your parents come to you and say, well, hey, that school down the road, they're doing all of this stuff for their athletes. How do you respond to that? And you shouldn't have to. That's where your state association should have some clear, I'm going to say it because I'm not from Oklahoma, some clear policies that everybody's going to follow. Stephanie, you just mentioned education-based athletics. Whether it's education-based or NCAA or whatever, I think one of the foundational principles is fair play, an even playing field. And Steph or Emily, you alluded to it, that bright, shiny thing. Well, gosh, that school's doing this. Maybe we should go over there. That's not a fair playing field. Again, I really appreciate you two coming on as working ADs, not as NIL experts, but maybe you know a little bit more about Oklahoma than I do. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain just a little bit more about NIL or anything else, and listeners, you've got two tremendous resources here. Really should take advantage of it. Stephanie, I'll go with you again first. How can our listeners get in touch with Stephanie Blackwell?
They can email me at blackwell.stephanie@unionps.org. That's probably the best way. If they're NIAAA members, they can go on Final Forms and find me that way. I think that's probably the best. I'm not going to put my cell phone number out there because who knows who'd be calling then, Jake.
No, yeah, you never know who's going to call. Emily, same thing. And again, Stephanie and Emily, you can find their information in the NIAAA membership portal through Final Forms or just going to NIAAA. Emily, do you have an email you could share?
Yes, it's similar, barkley.emily@unionps.org.
Okay. Well, again, thanks for coming on. All the best moving forward with the fall season. And gosh, winter sports are going to be here before we know it. I assume and hope you're both going to be down in Tampa for the NADC.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Make plans to at least say hello. And good luck moving forward in this ever-changing NIL landscape. It sounds like Oklahoma might truly be the Wild West of NIL, but I know Union High School and the state of Oklahoma is in very good hands with the two of you.
Thank you, Jake. Thanks for having us
on.
Oh, you guys know you have a green light anytime you want to come on the podcast. For our listeners, we do want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Wednesday Wisdom just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories and some best practices from the world of athletics. So please join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Hey, before we go, of course, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Please go and visit these sponsors. I used them as an AD. You're going to be very glad you went and checked them out. Let's say thanks to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Sideline Interactive, .com. Gipper, become a social media marketing guru for your athletic department. That's Gipper.com. Home Campus, scheduling rosters, results. Again, their eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. Homecampus.com. Ohio University and their online masters. Check them out. Vital Signs Wall of Fame. It's vitalsignswalloffame.com. Looking for a fundraiser? Well, guess what? You just found it. It's Snap Raise. Go to snapraise.com. Hometown, you'll find them at hometown.com. Huddle, I used it as a football coach. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com. And athletic surveys by LifeTrack. Let them help you take your school from good to great. That's athleticsurveys.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.